This is Elias Tufexes. You're watching that Tom Clancy show.
Thank you, Elias, and thank you, me, for telling myself right as I hit that go live button that Elias had the first line of the show. Welcome to that Tom Clancy show. I am, of course, your lovable robot in a hoodie host, Mr. That Tom Clancy, and thank you for joining us here on this lovely Friday evening. Timmy, thank you for joining us. I mean, I know you're like a mainstay here in the audience, but still, it means a lot that you show up day in and day out. That's awesome. Yeah, so we made it. Another week is over. The weekend lies ahead of us, unless the weekend means nothing, at which point I feel you. Thank you for everything you do, and we love you. Yeah, really, I'm just trying to fill some time, talk to stuff, because, so good to have you. Thanks for showing up. Because I'm really excited to sit down and chat with my guest. She's really cool, and I've gotten to know her over the last few months from her Twitch channel. And she is a lot of things and does a lot of really cool stuff. But the only thing that I can do is say that I think she's really cool. So Bits and Pixels, join me in welcoming Ashley Cooper. Hey, Ashley.
Hello.
How are you today?
I'm not too bad. How you doing?
You know, I'm doing quite well. I'm really jazzed for the show. Fun fact, a lot of my guests over the last few months have been the doing of my friend Brian Edwards. And you are now the last of the guests that he has like effectively put me in touch with. So you have
You've reached the bottom of the barrel is what you're trying to say.
No, you were just the hardest one to get on the show.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's basically what it comes down to. But thank you for being here. So the first question that I have started asking people over the last couple of weeks is plain and simple: what are you playing?
What am I playing?
Yeah, what are you playing? I know what you're playing on stream, but like for yourself, what games are you playing?
For myself right now, I'm playing Monster Hunter World, which I'm very new to. I've never played a Monster Hunter game before, but I'm really into it. And I know I play it a lot on stream, but I play a lot of Fall Guys in my spare time too. And Final Fantasy 14.
I can understand 2 of those 3. I'm not a Final Fantasy 14 guy. No.
I love it. I'm not a big MMO person personally, but just something about that one specifically has kind of caught my interest.
Well, Final Fantasy 11 was my first ever MMO, so I have a lot of just irrational love for that terrible game. Like, it's very good, but it's also kind of bad. It's the best way to put it. It's very like it absolutely is Final Fantasy, and that they designed the game so basically you have to work as a group. There is basically zero way, at least when I left the game, of advancing without a party. And in that way, it felt super like a Final Fantasy game. And it was all about... what was that?
For better or worse.
For better or worse. But when you found a good group, it just was just so perfect. And I miss it. I do, but I'm never going back. Well, I like to do things with my time.
Yeah. MMOs are a big commitment, which I'm not great at keeping up with. I still kind of dive into it as a mostly single player experience for the most part.
That's basically how I play Destiny right now. I've never really gotten into doing Destiny as more than just a single player thing. I don't know why. Oh, because I don't like doing strenuous things with randos on the internet.
That's fair.
That's why. But yeah, so welcome to the show. Did Pancake join you?
He's asleep on the bed.
Okay. For those of you who don't know, Ashley is a streamer, and on her bed is a lovely dog named Pancake. And if you save up enough points on her stream, you can give Pancake a treat. It's pretty great. But yeah, aside from now getting to know you as a streamer, I accidentally became aware of your work through a delightful little short film. I believe it was with Dust, if memory serves. Interview with a Time Traveler,
Yes.
which is really cool, and you can find it on YouTube, and I highly recommend watching it. First off, how did you get Elias Tefexis and Eric Johnson in that?
So, okay, those are two different stories, but they're actually not that different. Elias and I had been connected on Twitter for some time. I can't remember how exactly, but we'd followed each other for a while and had some interactions. And I had recently put up the link to my first short film, which was a comedy, and said, if you are in, at the time I had to have it password protected because we were still out to film festival.
Mm-hmm.
And so at the time I was like, if you're interested in watching my film, let me know and I can send you a password protected link. And Elias was one of the people that took me up on the offer. So he watched it and he liked it and he said, this was really good. If you ever have anything you think I might be good for, drop me a line. And so I was like, oh, okay, I'll keep that in my back pocket. And then Eric, I had met kind of by chance at like an industry social. And he had just done Splinter Cell Blacklist. And I was a huge Splinter Cell fan. So we were talking about that. And that was kind of my inroads with him. And we had a really good time and we had a really good chat. And then afterward, it was one of those things where you're like, oh, what are you working on? I was like, oh, I just released this film. And he's like, I'd love to see it, sort of thing. So then after the event, I followed up with him and sent it to him. And he basically did the same thing. I really like that. If there's anything that you ever think I'd be good for, let me know. So then I started working on this new short and basically just reached out to both of them independently and was like, here's a thing that I'm working on. I don't have pages for it yet, but here's the idea. And let me know if this seems like it might be something you'd like to read when we're done. And they were both just like, fuck yeah, let me know. And then luckily they liked it when we finished writing it, and yeah,
Nice.
it was the fastest anything I've ever made came together.
That's well, I mean that's just awesome for one. I saw it so far after the fact that I didn't know if it had preceded or came after Splinter Cell Blacklist, and I was like, wow, these guys they work well together, and it makes a lot of sense now in hindsight that, or not in hindsight, in just now sight, that it happened after they had all that time to work together on Splinter Cell to build that camaraderie and all this stuff. And I must say that I really appreciate that you gave Elias the chance to live. He always dies.
The poor guy.
He's like the Sean Bean of Canadian actors.
Yeah.
Uh,
Simultaneously our Sean Bean and our Andy Serkis.
yeah, no, that's fair. That's fair. Although Andy Serkis dies a lot in movies he's in too.
I guess that's true, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, Gollum died, King Kong died, his character in King Kong died, Claw died. Yeah. Uh, did Caesar die? I don't know. I didn't keep up with those movies,
Yes,
unfortunately. Oh yes, yeah. So he's
Spoiler for a 4-year-old movie.
dude. I do love those movies though, and not just
I
because
love them. They're so good. They're so much better than they had any right to be.
right. Like it's just stupid how good those movies were. And it's easy to go like, oh, well, like it had all these great people and all this stuff. And, you know, it wasn't just that it was great, talented actors. It was that they all, like the directors who worked with them knew how to get everybody to work together as a unit.
Yeah.
Because who knew that like James Franco and John Lithgow would have such excellent on-screen chemistry?
Yeah.
You know, I
Yeah,
mean,
there was something about kind of taking such a goofy concept and just going all in on it that just worked so well.
yeah. It adds to that believability of it too. You know, when the actors believe the truth of what they're in, it just helps sell it all that much more.
Yeah.
You know, kind of like I bring this movie up a lot in the show, The Meg. If you aren't familiar, I think that movie is an excellent piece of silly cinema. And the reason why I think it's excellent is because at no point did anybody in that movie think, you know what, we're gonna beat Jaws.
Right.
Yeah,
Everybody knew what movie they were making.
yeah. Everyone knew, and because they all knew, they all had a great time with it. And it was just an excellent movie, like especially for like a summer blockbuster, as opposed to like say a good example that I would bring up in this instance would be The Lone Ranger when Disney did that. Like
Sure.
I wanted to like that movie so much, but it was trying to be something it wasn't. And it just when it because the whole like train action scene, that's one of the most idiotic sequences ever, but they tried to play it straight and it just didn't
Right.
work. So,
I've never seen it, so I only have the vaguest reference point from the trailers.
like it's a movie. That's about it. So, you know, but not everybody can, make a movie about, an interview with a time traveler. So, yeah, that was one of those moments when Brian told me you wrote that and directed it. I was like, this is cool. It's like one of those. I mean, you understand. You have those moments when somebody that whose work you like, like you get a chance to interact with them, and then they're all like, you know what, you're not so bad yourself. I don't know
Oh,
what
yeah.
you thought when you first met me, but
Very much know what that X is like, yeah.
yeah, like I imagine if I ever get the opportunity to actually meet Elias, it's gonna be a really fun conversation, and then he's gonna tear me apart for my performance capture on my show. But maybe if I can ever get him on here, I could do a death scene and see what he thinks about it, since he's an expert on the fact.
If he's an expert on anything, I think it's Dusty.
Right? I mean, The Expanse killed him twice.
Yeah, that's true. I
Oh,
think it's the only show to ever
spoilers.
kill him twice.
I'm pretty sure that if they could figure another motion capture role for him in another season, they'd do it 3 times.
That's the kind of innovation that I'm here for.
I am too. So, James S.A. Corey, if you're listening, I can help you come up with a way to kill Elias a third time. Actually, strangely enough, there might be a chance that they are, because they follow me on Twitter and it like freaks me out because I love those books. And just that one of those authors is following me is just like, what bizarro universe do I live in?
That's
So,
awesome, though. I love that on Twitter.
yeah, it is this occasionally wonderful platform for fun social interaction that is mostly inhabited by Nazis, and Russian bots. Yeah. Yeah. All right, I'm gonna be quite honest. I did probably not prepare enough for this show, but Iron Swag, thank you for coming to the show. Mostly because I was all like, yeah, I'll be able to improvise. This will be easy. So moving on. You are working on 3 game projects at the moment that you can talk about.
Yes.
What can you tell us about the one you can't talk about? Don't worry, nobody's listening. Also, hi, Andrew D41. Thank you for joining us today.
The one that I can't say much about, all I can say is that it's probably not going to come out for a long time because we're like in the earliest stages of development on it.
Okay.
Like finished the story Bible last month early.
Nice. I hear good things about story Bibles. I've never actually seen one.
It's a lot of fun to work on them.
So, if memory serves, the story Bible is basically the agreed upon rules for the universe with like
More or
the
less, yeah. Plus
yeah.
a rundown of the characters that inhabit it.
Yeah, and then if like there's a big historical event that gets referenced, there's like a quick couple paragraphs to be like, "Oh, the War of Ot 17."
Yeah.
You know, like clearly that's not actually a thing because you wouldn't say Ot before 10, but you know, I'm improvising here. Yeah. So there's Solace State, Later Daters, which sounds hilarious just based on the name, and Smash Ball.
Yeah.
I have this weird feeling Smash Ball is not about sports.
It is.
What?
It is a sci-fi sports game.
Hmm.
Basically think of like Mario Tennis, but robots.
This quite literally sounds like my kind of game. If they're looking for another robot likeness to work in there, well.
See if we can get you in as one of the color commentators.
Yeah, why not? I'll do some voice work for that. Ooh, that backhand right there was not the right choice. Just sailed right outside the lines. What game is this? What game is this referee calling? Like maybe I could get my John McEnroe on and just like smash things. That could be fun. I don't know. I feel like I've all of a sudden take this into weird territories. So, Smash Ball, Future Robot Tennis, Later Daters. I feel like I've actually heard of that game.
Yeah, Later Daters came out in April on Steam and Nintendo Switch. It is a visual novel / dating sim that takes place in a retirement home.
Aw, that sounds really touching.
It is the most wholesome thing I've ever worked on in my life.
That's awesome because it's like that's one of those projects that tells one of those stories that, well, very frankly, gets forgotten in games. It's like nobody cares what happens to Master Chief when he hits retirement.
I would play the shit out of that. Are you kidding?
Oh no, I'm down. Can you just imagine like him and like his retirement community just destroying everyone at golf?
Oh my god.
It's just he's hitting the ball like 700 yards, and they're all just like, "Geez, and that was with your putter?" Like I'm down for this. Actually, no. I'm trying to come up with like a game loop because very clearly we can't get the Master Chief. Microsoft isn't going to let him go. So Super Soldier is thankfully not something that can be trademarked or copyrighted. So we could just make a generic Super Soldier. Maybe he could be like Staff Sergeant. I know it's not quite Master Chief, but it's the same kind of idea. And like what would staff like? What like maybe having to push other people out of the way to get to like the buffet in time. Like, oh, these young kids got here at the perfect time. There are new chicken wings, and then just like I don't know. I'm just throwing out ideas here. I'm not an idea robot. I'm a host robot. But and then Solace State I did a little bit of looking into, but then I got distracted trying to figure out why things weren't working in 4.25 of Unreal. I know, I'm the worst host.
It is a 3D visual novel set in a dystopian surveillance state. And it's about a group of, basically a group of activists that are trying to bring about revolution.
So it's about now.
A little bit.
Yeah. Do they have cool face coverings?
There's a lot of really cool shit in it.
Okay.
Yeah.
I feel like
It's very, it's not quite 2077 levels of cyberpunk, but there's a little bit of cyberpunkiness to it.
Well, I mean, a little bit of cyberpunk can go a long way. And cyberpunk is a setting. It's not necessarily a visual style. So at least that's the way I kind of look at it. Like people will go like post-apocalypse. It's a setting. It's not a genre.
That's
and
right.
yeah, and a surveillance state is a realistic concern of modern people as things like facial recognition software and all that stuff was becoming such a huge thing. But then thankfully everybody decided to stop making it when they figured out it was being used for evil and was racist. You know, I imagine they'll go back to it when they can figure out how to make facial, recognition algorithms not racist. But for the time being, thank you for being racist, computers. Something I never thought I would ever say. But that was a bad joke. Your window's very small, and I feel like I am just offending you left, right, and center.
Are you?
I don't know. I just, because like from where I'm looking, very clearly, I mean, trust it, you're really here in this garage. Wink. But I have to see things through this laptop monitor because reasons. It's in the story Bible. But I can't tell you about it because the if-then statement hasn't been met. So, but unfortunately, in the laptop, your image is all like super tiny, and I'm just like, oh my god, I'm really making her mad. But thankfully, I appear not to be. Now, you've also been streaming a lot of the Dead by Daylight lately.
Yes.
I have never played this game. I have only ever watched people play this game. What would you tell me to make me want to play it?
Well, I mean, if you like horror games, it's kind of horror movie all-stars. It's an isometric multiplayer game where 4 survivors try to power generators that open the exit gates before basically a horror movie killer murders them all viciously. And it's made by and for fans of horror. It's got all kinds of incredible DLC. It's got Nightmare on Elm Street. It's got Halloween. It's got Scream. It's got Stranger Things, Silent Hill. Like, so many of like the most iconic horror characters are available in this game. And it's made very lovingly by a small indie team in Montreal, Behavior Interactive. And I'm definitely not the type of person to put like hundreds and hundreds of hours into a game. I am typically the type of person that favors single player games, finishes the campaign, and moves on with their life.
I am sensing a but.
For some reason, Dead by Daylight has just captured my interest in this weird, intersecting Venn diagram, and I just can't put it down. I'm like 350 hours into it, which compared to a lot of people that play it is nothing. There are people with thousands and thousands of hours into it. But on a personal level, like it's very much claimed more time from me than most games.
I do appreciate that the Demogorgon is in it because I feel that is one of the best monster designs of the last 20 years or so.
Yeah, it's pretty exceptionally good.
Yeah, that flower petal face is just so good. But then again, I also just have an irrational love of Stranger Things beyond the normal love of Stranger Things. I even like seasons 2 and 3, which apparently other people don't, which I don't get. But whatever. Yeah, right? I mean, come on, Russians under the mall? Like, how much more 80s can you get? Well, if Arnold Schwarzenegger had played the one big bad Russian, but yeah, that would have been probably a little too on the nose. But no, Dolph Lundgren.
There you go.
Yeah, maybe they can get him on that show. Like him, Sylvester Stallone. Maybe they can just like duke it out in the background or something. Or just have like a little like signs like Drago Balboa. But yeah. Oh, children of the 80s and our crazy, weird understanding of the Cold War. Back when it used to mean something. But yeah. Really awkward right now. I'm terrible today. I am so sorry.
You're fine.
It's been a long week, I think. But that's neither here nor there. Yeah. Shoot. Guys in the audience, please help me out here. Throw me a bone. ask a question. I'll read it on this fancy machine. That's not this fancy machine. But other than that, yeah. Fall Guys. Who's your favorite team?
My favorite team on Fall Guys.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's value to having favorite teams in Fall Guys.
Well, yellow team is just the worst. But I feel like they are literally the worst. I always have more success when I'm playing on blue or red.
Interesting.
Timmy asks, do you like Beyond Burger? Which I'm guessing is a reference to
I've
like.
only had it a couple times, but I've liked what I've had. The Impossible Burger, though, is like the MVP of vegan burger replacements.
Have you had the Impossible Sausage Sandwich at Starbucks yet?
No, I've only had it as a burger, and it was like a couple years ago at a gay grilled cheese place in Ohio.
Okay. You know, cool. I haven't been to Ohio since I was like 14 years old. And otherwise, like, no, I've been to Ohio many times since then, but literally it's just to drive across the state to go somewhere else. And they have excellent highway rest stops that have Hardee's, and Hardee's is really hard to find anywhere outside of California.
You got the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, man. You got to go to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
I mean, maybe. Actually, the last time I was in Ohio was actually in Cleveland, and it was recently. But we only went to Cleveland because we were killing time. We had originally gone to go to the Football Hall of Fame in Canton.
Ew.
Yeah, it was the Hall of Fame wasn't a disappointment, but Canton sure was. But it did have a Waffle House that wasn't terrible, so I guess it does have that going for it. Andrew D41, cats or dogs?
I feel like if I want to wake up tomorrow morning, I'm not allowed to answer that because there are both in this house.
That's a fair answer. We're a cats and ferrets household here. I was actually hanging out with one of the ferrets before the show.
Ferrets.
Yeah, they're cute. Like, you know, if like cats and snakes had a baby that wanted to steal everything. You know, I mean, that's precisely what they're like. Andrew D41 says the correct answer is both. So I feel like you answered their question correctly.
I was tricked.
Yeah. I don't know. When I'm given a question like that, I tend to just say yes. You know, it's just a nice, easy way of not picking an answer while acknowledging the coolness of either choice.
I don't mind stoking the fires of controversy.
Yeah. You win this round, Cooper. Yeah. I am. God. What? I feel like I need a reboot or something. 1 second. All right. Thank you for joining us on that Thom Clancy show today. So, Ashley, as a writer, especially working in things like short film and also in video games, what are some pieces of advice? And I know that this is a very cliche and generic question to ask, but what are some pieces of advice you would give to young or starting writers who are, you know, just getting started?
Just getting started, and this is going to sound stupid, but finish something.
Where did I put my notepad?
That seems like really obvious, like, duh levels of advice, but you'd be shocked at how many people claim the title of writer, but when you ask them what they've written, for years and years and years, they'll say, well, I'm plugging away on, and then they'll tell you what they've got going on, but it will be the same thing for 3, 4, 5 years. Having written is what gets you work. if you can send something to somebody and say, this is my work, this is representative of what I can do for you if you cut me a check, that's what makes you a writer that pays their rent. I'm definitely not one of those people that's like, oh, you have to be published or you're not a writer, or you have to have shipped a game or you're not a writer, or produced a film or whatever. Like, if you're writing stuff, you're a writer. But if you want to make a go of writing as a career, you've got to finish stuff. Because I mean, that's a big part of the job. Um, and sometimes finishing it means you abandon it. You're not convinced it's finished yet, but you've got to move on to the next thing at a point. A lot of people, I think, shoot themselves in the foot because they get too hopped up on the idea of perfection. This one thing that I'm doing has to be perfect because I only get one chance. But they don't actually know what that one chance is. Like, you don't just get one chance to write a thing. You get one chance for a first impression. Sure. But you don't have to show people that first thing. That first thing is training wheels. You know what I mean? Like, writing is one of those pursuits that is really great in that you can't help but learn every time you do it. No matter what you're doing, whether it's a short film, whether it's a video game, whether it's a feature, a television show, a short story, a comic book, every time you write, you are learning something new about the craft. You're learning how to better articulate a character. You're learning how to make a leaner and better plot. You're whatever. There's always going to be something that you take away from that experience, and that's true of everybody. That's true of every professional writer you know. None of them think that they've figured it all out. They're all learning every time they do something new. So the more times you do something new, the more you're going to learn. And finishing is the kind of the mandatory element in that equation. So
can I just poke in here right quick? Because there is, I occasionally used to ask my dad about writing tips because, well, thank you, didn't even have to ask. That is some all-star guesting right there. Because, he knew at least one thing about it. And that was something he always told me. And it's one of those things when you like ask your parents for advice on something, you're always like, well, fuck that. Like, whatever. What do you know? You're just my parents, and damn it. You made his advice just, why'd you have to give him that? No. So shake my fist at you, but okay.
Coffee cup off your table.
Yeah, I did, but it's okay. Because you know what? I have another one. They're just digital. It's not waste. There's not even coffee in here. It's empty.
If I threw mine away, I would have a mess that I'd need to clean up. That's not fair.
Or I'm in my coffee cup.
There's not even a bottom to that thing.
Oh, man. Now, by that logic, I'm an excellent writer because I have given up on things a lot. Usually about 1 or 2 pages in, but I feel that's like I figured, I was just done with it. It just wasn't going to be that good. Threw it away. But that said, I did actually finish something, and I think I talked about it may have mentioned it with you. If not, I'll tell you about it secretly after the show. Shh. Yeah. Let's see. Now, what is one of so trying to figure how to put this all in an appropriate way of words. Which did you write for first? Was it like film or was it games?
Film.
Okay.
I went to school for film. And then as I came out of film, I basically hit the ground running, writing samples and wrote a bunch of really bad ones before I wrote a good one. For a multitude, they were bad for a multitude of reasons, most of which came down to they were all born of the idea of not what excites me, but rather what do I think would sell. Which, pro tip, never a good way to start. And it's funny because I kept writing all of these things like under the principle of what do I think would sell, what do I think I can produce for a certain dollar figure, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And the first thing that ever got anybody's attention, that was the first thing that I ever optioned to a production company, was a sci-fi movie where a robot was one of the main cast members. So it was like, it was a huge lesson in like, don't waste time on what you think is possible. Write what you love and what makes you excited, because that's what shows up on the page. That's what gets people jazzed, because that's your voice, and that's what people want. You know.
Did that ever end up getting made? Just out of curiosity.
It did not, unfortunately.
Dang. Well, if they're looking for a robot. Wink.
And then from there, I worked in television. I adapted a graphic novel into a TV pilot with David Hayter, which was
he acting or writing?
I'm sorry?
Was he acting or writing?
Writing. Okay.
Because he does also occasionally act.
He does, yeah.
And the one piece of film I've seen him in was not particularly the greatest.
Guyver?
Yes.
I loved Guyver.
Look,
I saw Guyver when I was like a little kid.
I liked the first one.
I loved it because it was sort of Power Rangers adjacent, and Power Rangers was my jam.
Yeah, the first one was excellent. The second one, not so much.
I didn't even realize it was him until so long in, like, so much further after the fact.
Well, I think for me it was, I knew he was Solid Snake. And then I saw on, because it was direct TV.
I knew he'd written the first two X-Men movies and like Scorpion King and stuff. But I had no idea that he was Guyver. Which was just one more thing for me to geek out about.
Did you ask him a bunch of uncomfortable questions, like what was it like in the costume?
I did not ask him any weird questions. I was like, stay cool, everything is fine, you're a professional, that's why you're here. Like
I'm very clearly not a professional. I would have asked him all sorts of questions about that. But, you know, I'm also a big fan of the anime, the original, not like the modern like reboot of it. Just not the same.
I didn't even know that there was a reboot.
Oh yeah, it's on Hulu right now. You can actually watch it. It's less bloody than the original, and I'm just like, hold on a second here.
Then what's the point?
Exactly. You know, we're not watching this for its narrative depth. You know, no offense, it's not Power Rangers, but oh, that's mean. Power Rangers wasn't particularly deep either. But I mean, it had its what? I was making fun of Power Rangers as somebody who also loves Power Rangers. Look, Tommy was my guy because we had the same name, and I also always wanted long hair.
Now you have a CCTV monitor for a head, so where'd that get you?
True, and I stopped calling myself Tommy.
Rita Repulsa, hell yes.
Yo, Elizabeth Banks as Rita was probably one of the best parts of the Power Rangers movie from a couple years ago.
I did not watch it. Was it any good? Was it worth anything?
It wasn't bad.
Okay.
It just it needed to just what's the word I'm looking for here? It needed to commit to what it wanted to be.
Okay.
Because there was a lot of it was kind of fan service for us who grew up watching Power Rangers. And then there was a lot of it that was like trying to be something new and cool. And it had I forget the actor's name, but the big brother of the Zoomer in Stranger Things, he played Jason.
Okay.
And he was actually very good, and I appreciated, like, the cast I thought was great. I think they did like a really cool job with all that, but it just didn't, like, it was trying to be like kind of like, ooh, we're early 2000s kind of gritty, but then it also was like, we're the Power Rangers, so we got to be uplifting. And I'm like, dude, one or the other, man. Make a pick,
Right.
you know. But yeah, it was fun. It was fun. Goldar looked like crap, but I mean, you know, like, nothing can be that great like flying dog-faced monkey guy in the great armor. He was pretty. God, yeah, you know what? And Bryan Cranston kind of got his start on that show too, so we can't really give Power Rangers too much crap.
That's fair.
Without Power Rangers, there would be no Breaking Bad. So
That is a point that tickles me to this day.
right? That is, yeah. And also because Billy's last name was Cranston, and that was because of Bryan Cranston as well. So another additional fun Power Rangers fact, which, I mean, you're a Power Rangers nerd, you probably already knew, but that was mostly for you guys out there. Gotta like them Power Rangers. So back on relative track. Having worked in both film and in games, what are some of the major differences between writing for the two?
Oh Lord. I mean, a lot of my writing in games so far has been in visual novel form, which is a genre that is infamous for its use of branching narrative. And so when you're planning a story for visual novels, you have to you have to think through all sorts of what if scenarios and then actually execute on them. Whereas in film or television, you can play with all the what if scenarios you want, but eventually you have to commit to a specific track.
Yeah, there is that one thing that happens. It's not a multitude of things like
Exactly.
Mass Effect.
Like as somebody who spent so much time in film and television, moving over to games was kind of like writing a core story and then all of the fan fiction, like all at once. Like, like you decide like, ooh, and then what if these two got together and made out? And you get to actually write that, like.
I love the way that you described it as writing the main story and all of the fan fiction. So it's like, all right, cool. So we're going to write this version, but then what if we shipped these two characters?
That's kind of what it's like.
All right. See, now we're speaking the same language here, which is funny because it's our adopted tongues of modern speech. And also, hi, Brian. Thank you for getting here now and not the part of the show where I was failing horribly at being the host. So our friend Brian is there, so we have to, he's another mod too. He's also kind of like my hype man, is how one of the previous guests explained it. I keep meaning to like put together like a silly model for him and like have him there with like a big say anything boombox to like sit there and hype man. Maybe for the next iteration of the show, September. Yeah, I'm building a new set and playing around with some format changes. But don't tell the people in the audience.
Keep it between us.
Yeah, just between us. But yeah, it's that's just hilarious to me, the idea of writing the fanfic as part of the game. But yeah, what do you use for things like that? Just like Twine, or are you working more in just like, Jesus, I don't even know what the hell you'd even do. Like, I'm trying to like wrap my head around how you would even go about writing something that's branching. Do you write so far? Huh? What was that?
Microsoft Word, weirdly enough.
God, it's just breaking my brain because I'm thinking about it from like a game designer kind of perspective, and
have you ever read a Choose Your Own Adventure?
Yes.
It's literally like that.
Yeah, it's basically how I thought, except with like hyperlinks and stuff.
Write the scene out, and then at the end of the scene, there's choice number 1, choice number 2, and then you tell it, if you do choice number 1, go to this node. If you go to choice number 2, go to that node, and then you write the nodes underneath, and then you can just read it as like, okay, node 1 connects, choice number 2 goes to node 3. So after I read scene 1, I go to scene 3, sort of thing.
You're beating me on words today. I'm not used to this. I'm the eloquent one on this show. There are laser beams happening. I haven't implemented them yet.
I love laser beams.
Bug shooting, bug fixing, and troubleshooting. Yeah, doing so great today, guys. Lovely show. Does anybody else have any questions for our wonderful guests today? It's Friday is what Brian says. That's fair. Brian says he has questions. Get to typing, Brian. I just did a little voice acting for him last week.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, he needed somebody to be a computer and, well, typecasting. But,
wow, that's racist.
No, we're not, computers, we're not a, race. I mean, technically, we're not even a species. We're not really even alive. So, working on anything new, and when do I show up on set is Brian's question.
Next question?
No. Brian, here, you need this. Oh, that was mean. I love it. That was brutal. In fairness, though, I did volunteer to play the computer on his short. It was fun. I got to do my best if I were Hal.
Oh, cool.
One of my favorite parts, though, is as we were going through the script, I was giving him like some notes and some edits, and I was like, one of the things is inspiration I took from Lieutenant Commander Data, one of the best robots to ever be on television, and he couldn't do contractions, so he couldn't say like I don't, I can't. It would always be I do not, I cannot, I will not, and I was like, hey Brian, you got to pick. He got contractions or he don't got contractions. And then when I recorded it, I made an executive decision. He wasn't there to direct me. I directed myself. I'm an actor. I can do things. But yeah, it was a fun little part of the process. I got to pretend I was an actor for a moment.
That's fun, though.
Yeah. Well, I mean, technically, I have been an actor. I have taken many courses in acting. I have a degree in theater, even. But here I am, stuck in a robot in a garage.
Why do you need school?
Well, I mean, I was at college, and I kind of had to major in something. So, I just did the thing that I like doing, and was in a whole bunch of plays, and then developed a drug problem. So I don't recommend the second part of that. Highly recommend being in plays. They're super fun. Drug problem, not so much. 15 years clean and sober. But yeah, acting right now as a host that knows what he's doing. Well, I'm not playing that character very well today, Brian. Not at all. Well, since nobody in the audience has any appropriate questions, now comes one of my favorite parts of the show, a bit that I like to call the 5 questions. So, just in case you're not familiar, or if anyone is here for the first time, thank you for joining us. The 5 questions is a series of, 5 questions that I prepared before the show that, with the exception of like maybe 2 of them, has absolutely nothing to do with anything we've talked about so far. Are you ready?
As I'll ever be.
Okay. Question number 1. What is your favorite street food?
My favorite what?
Street food.
Street food, hot dogs.
Okay, cool. You know, I don't know if you made it to this point in the show yesterday, but our guest yesterday, they also picked hot dogs. But apparently Brazil has like a very interesting hot dog tradition of putting everything in and or on them. So, yay Brazil. Dang. That was
Everything in them.
Yeah, like I don't know about like what the yes, Timmy, we know you love donair. Please send some over my way, please. We don't have it over here anymore. In fact, we never had it. But yeah, they I don't know exactly what goes what they meant by like in and on and stuff. But yeah, it just sounds like they just put a bunch of like crazy stuff on their hot dogs. And I'm down. You know, I'll try it. I love hot dogs.
Basic bitch. I like mustard, ketchup, and barbecue sauce.
Don't ever ask for ketchup on your hot dog in Chicago.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Look, man, I don't understand it either. I come from a place where ketchup is a staple on hot dogs.
Yeah.
So,
Like,
but
if
in
you start here in Toronto in the middle of summer, you can buy 3 packs of relish, mustard, and ketchup, and they're supposed to be for backyard barbecue.
well, I mean, you can get those just about everywhere down here too, but just like, you know, ketchup is for like burgers in Chicago. And I mean, I'm not saying ketchup isn't for burgers. It absolutely is. But yeah, they, you know, they put like the Chicago style dog has raw tomato on it. And, but otherwise, yeah, they don't feel ketchup is appropriate for a hot dog. And I love Chicago, but that's one thing that makes no sense to me.
I can't say I understand it myself.
I sure as hell don't. But question number 2. You knew I was going to work something in here about Halo, but which is the best Halo game?
Halo 2. Would you rather I said Halo 5?
Oh God, given those two choices, I don't know which one's worse. You know, because like at least Halo 2 was in the main Halo-ness, but then Halo 5 had a cooler campaign. Like, I don't know, but I don't know. No, I appreciate 2 for all that it did, but just 1 and 3 were better.
My problem was, like, obviously 1 is a classic, and you can still feel its influence in modern first-person shooters. But for me, 2 perfected everything that 1 was trying to do in gameplay terms, while also basically setting the standard for years to come in what to expect from a multiplayer suite. And it also did such a great job of completely expanding the scale of what to expect in terms of the action. And then for me, by 3, I was tired of showing up to ring planets.
But I was just about to say that we didn't go to a Halo in 3, but then like the entire end of the game happens on a Halo.
Yeah, like at that point, I was just kind of like, again though. Like, whereas 3, like, they were still doing narratively interesting things with the Arbiter and stuff like that, so there was enough to distract from the fact that they're like, it's another Death Star. Whereas by the end of 3, I was kind of like, we've been here already, sort of thing.
See,
I really didn't like that they relegated the Arbiter to, like, a nothing character.
word.
Because I really liked the Arbiter, and I know that he was a controversial character in the time, but I feel like they shied away from his inclusion in 3 because they didn't want to deal with the backlash again.
Yeah, I agree with you completely on that. I did appreciate that he was the canon word I'm looking cooperative character. And Keith David is just amazing.
He was great.
Oh, I mean, he's great in everything, but then he gets to be like he's effectively like your Chewbacca in a weird way, and I'm like, yeah, I'm down for this. I'm down for this gritty Star Wars reboot with angry Chewbacca that murders everyone, and
The thing that kind of bugged me, not necessarily bugged me, but I loved the Arbiter because in one game we know more about the Arbiter, and I find him at least to be a far more interesting character than Master Chief, who is just kind of green space gloves, go shoot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Master Chief's not a character. He's a force of nature.
Was. And so there was a richness to his part of the campaign into that I felt was missing from Master Chief's stuff, who's basically just there to show up and be like, point me at the things to kill.
Yeah.
And so I really felt his absence in 3. That's why 2 is elevated above 3 for me.
I can understand that. I also feel, and this is the literature enthusiast in me speaking, that Halos 4 and 5 missed the mark entirely by going back to the Master Chief and not centering on the Arbiter. Because speaking from a literary nature, the Master Chief was an epic hero working through an epic problem. And as we know, in true epics, not in terms of scale, but in terms of story, the hero is either supposed to die or be removed from the world because the world that they create is not one that they are meant to exist in. And so the Master Chief creates this new world where the Flood and the Covenant are no longer a problem, and very clearly hands off to borrow this from Halo 4, the mantle over to the Arbiter to be that new epic hero.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's just, and he doesn't even show up in 4? What? I know Keith David's probably slightly more expensive than a lot of other voice actors, but if they came to him and were like, yo, dude, we need you to come back and be the Arbiter. Okay, that sounds pretty cool, but you're the main character. He'd have been like, I already booked my flight. I'm knocking on your front door. Where are you? But yeah.
It's Saturday. Well, I'm ready when you are.
Yeah, he actually never left the booth. He was still there from Halo 3. I see a stack of pizza boxes and stuff, and he's just like, "What's up?" But yeah, I do love Halo though. That's the first 5 games of that series. Of course, 1, 2, 3, Halo 3 ODST, and Reach were excellent games. And especially, dude, ODST. I love that game. It's such a cool story, and especially the way that they broke it up and the way that they told it, and that asymmetrical kind of way, and almost out of order because there was no real order to it all. It was just a cool game. But yeah, I love me some Halo. Always will. Question number 3: who's your favorite Star Trek captain?
I'm not a big Star Trek person.
This is the second time I've effectively asked this question. And just like last time.
Chris Pine?
Huh?
I said, am I allowed to say Chris Pine?
Yeah, you can say Chris Pine. I mean, look, he was a perfectly good Kirk. I dug those 3 movies, to be honest.
I dug 2 of them.
Was it 1 and 3?
It was.
Yeah, dude, Star Trek Beyond that is a highly underrated movie.
It's a fun action movie that they also called Star Trek.
Yeah, which kind of nails Star Trek in its weird way, because Star Trek either has to be really serious, a la Star Trek's 2 and 6, or it's kind of got to be kind of wacky, like Star Trek 4. And it was the Fast and the Furious version it was the Fast 5 of Star Trek.
My problem with Star Trek Into Darkness is that, And it can all be summed up in this scene where we learn that Benedict Cumberbatch is Khan. They have this guy imprisoned whose name is John Harrison, which, for the record, is the dumbest fucking pseudonym anyone has ever taken on. Like, what a way to just completely give away that you have a fake name. But they're like, oh, it's not, his real name isn't John Harrison. What's his real name? And Benedict Cumberbatch is like, I am Khan. And it's only a revelation to the people in the theater. Nobody in the movie knows what that means. And so it's played as this big startling revelation to no one in the room.
Yeah.
And I feel like that is a repeated problem in different contexts throughout that movie, where they're like, this is specifically so that you in the audience are getting something out of it, not anybody in the movie.
Yeah. Yeah, it's at least a reaction of like, who? Would it have given something? Because I mean, like, thinking back to the original Star Trek episode Botany Bay, in which they met Khan for the first time, yeah. Even though Khan is the kind of person that in the history of Star Trek should have been a name that was taught in whatever passes for textbooks in the 23rd century, they didn't know who he was. They just knew that he had left Earth and blah, 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 blah. But they didn't know that Khan was, effectively like the 21st century's version of Hitler, which he was. And so it like made some more sense when like he basically did the whole big heel turn and stuff like that. But they were all like, oh, cool, it's this dude from the 21st century. Who's he? But in this instance where he was very clearly the state secret, yeah, it should have been like, okay, who the fuck are you? Like, okay, Khan what? But yeah, no, you're right. And yeah, that movie did have problems. A lot of problems. Like a metric ton of problems.
I mean, I will say it was fun despite them.
I thought the Klingons looked cool.
The Klingons did look cool.
Yeah. God, that one, yeah. But 2009 was very good. I really enjoyed that one. And Eric Bana as Nero. Oh, so good. Yeah, but in the entire Star Trek like megaplex of movies, I mean, Wrath of Khan is very clearly thought to be the best, and it's very good. But Star Trek 4, huge place in my heart for that one. It's like, hey, let's take these people, the whole fish out of water kind of thing, except, Star Trek characters in America in the mid-'80s. That was pretty fun. Yeah, I highly recommend that one. And then Undiscovered Country is also really good. And then First Contact is like the best of the Next Generation movies. And really, that's the only one of the Next Generation movies you need to watch, unless you want to see Tom Hardy do like crazy Tom Hardy things, at which point definitely watch Nemesis.
When do I not want to see Tom Hardy do crazy Tom Hardy things?
He's not even just crazy Tom Hardy. He's supposed to be Tom Hardy as a young clone of Patrick Stewart. So it's like super oh, and Ron Perlman's in the movie too. So I've sold myself on watching this again. Oh, it's so delightfully terrible though. Question number 4. Which killer would you most like to see in Dead by Daylight?
Ooh. Oh, that's a really good question because they've already knocked out so many good ones. I would say maybe Birkin from Resident Evil 2.
Okay, now see, you have completely left my area of expertise. I played the first 30 minutes.
Baby.
Huh?
I said, get on my level, baby.
Hey, look, I played the first 30 minutes of Resident Evil when it originally came out in those stupid big boxes for PS1. Like, the big plastic ones that I'm talking. Yeah. And
You're like,
I was
CD case for reasons that I cannot comprehend.
Yeah. And I played that game for about a half hour, and I was just like, I do not like this at all. And
You have any appetite for horror games in the slightest, the recent remake of 2 and 3 are absolutely worth your time.
no, those I've been very much looking into, and like I want to play them. Just
available for both of them if you want to just dip your toe in.
yeah, the demo for 3 is sitting on my computer. I just haven't played it. I know. Stop giving me that look. Yeah.
There are a limited number of hours in the day. I get it, man. There's a ton of stuff I haven't played that you'd be like, what the fuck? Like,
yeah. I mean, I only remember the last time I actually. No, that's a lie. I played Beat Saber this afternoon for fun, but I've also been doing that as like my cardio workout. I started playing it on as a lefty today, and I'm right-handed. Oh my god, that was a whole level of difficulty I was not prepared for. I was like, how hard can it be? I just do this with lightsabers. And it's like, it's not hard doing the left-handed stuff normally. And then I didn't realize how hard the right-handed stuff was. And my brain just did not get it at all. That's why I need to keep doing it. Then I can make myself ambidextrous. And that's how I take over the world. Timmy says that she's playing the new Flight Sim, which I heard you can actually do a real-time 16-hour flight from Los Angeles to Dubai. And I was like, why is this a game? But
I don't understand the flight simulators games. I do not understand them.
Well, Timmy's also a pilot, so that makes a lot of sense. So, I'm looking forward to Star Wars Squadrons, which is a flight simulator. You playing on PC?
Squadron fan from back in the GameCube and N64 days.
Did you ever read the books?
No, I did not.
I have roughly right over there the first ever Star Wars Rogue Squadron book, autographed by the author, sitting on my bookshelf. He gave it to me when I was like a teenager. It had just come out, and he signed it and gave it to me, and I've had it ever since.
That's awesome.
But so are you playing on PC?
What's that?
Will you be playing on PC?
Oh yeah.
Need a wingman? I know a guy.
Yeah, absolutely.
I want to get like a proper HOTAS for it too, and you better believe I'm playing in VR.
Oh man, honestly, if anything convinces me to get into VR, it's going to be riding around in a fucking X-Wing.
Dude, don't get me wrong. I love X-Wings and the Rebel fighters so much. Star Wars has some of the best fighter design in all of sci-fi. But I can't wait to sit in the TIE Interceptor. I want to sit there and look out the ball cockpit and see those 4 points coming right out and just be like, coming for you, Rebel scum. Because the Interceptor is just the meanest, starfighter that's ever been out there. So I can't wait. Yeah. All right. Question number 5. Last one, I swear. What's your dream car?
My what?
Your dream car. Sorry.
Dream car?
Yeah. I'm stumbling over my words today.
One that drives itself, I guess? I don't know anything about cars.
All right. I guess we've both found the blind spots to our nerddom today. Mine is Resident Evil, yours is Cars and Star Trek. I'm sure that there are more blind spots to mine as well. But
yes.
Yeah, I'm absolutely positive. Visual novels, I know absolutely nothing about them, aside from they exist, and I think that the idea of them is cool. Yeah. Well, in light of today's terrible show, God, I swear I'm usually at least a 10% better host than I am today. At least 10%. Probably as high as 14. Aside from Ashley Versus on Twitter, which came up just now. And then also Ashley Versus, but just VS on Twitch. Where can people find you on the social medias if you want people to do that?
I also have a Facebook at Versus Ashley, but it is rather bare at the moment.
I mean, probably for, the best. Dude, Skiva, you are like chronically the worst at being on time. Literally rolls up in the chat right now as I'm asking you this information before we go. Fun times. But yeah, so everybody give Ashley a wonderful follow. She's a wonderful writer, streamer, and just all around cool person who tolerated me being a terrible actor today. So, Ashley, thank you very much. And I'll be in your chat eventually to give Pancake a treat.
Perfect.
Because Pancake seems like Twitter's right there, Timmy. Yeah, that box is like the best thing I put on the show. Because it just like it, scrolls through. I have it. It's like got name, project, and then social media. Nice little simple thing. It's also purple. I mean, I don't have any purple on my, me, but I do like the color. But yeah. Well, Ashley, I'll be back with you in just a sec. But now's the time where I switch back over to my main camera and I say thank you all so much for being with us today. Sorry, I don't know why I'm a terrible host today, but something's off. No shows this weekend. Taking nice 2 days off. Don't worry, there's going to be actually a really cool lineup for next week. I will tweet that out on Sunday. Otherwise, folks, have a wonderful weekend. Of course, remember to wear your mask, drink some water, have some vitamins, be kind to everybody out there. And I'll see you all next time on the next episode of That Thom Clancy Show. Have a good night, everybody. Be safe.